One thing when it comes to Power Rangers and Super Sentai that I've always been disappointed in is there's not much behind the scenes content. Every now and again, we get set photos compiled into a book. Japan gets lots of magazines and short bonus features with a few of the movies, but not much in the actual filming process of the show. But there was one man that gave us a very rare glimpse into the craft of filming. Jeff Pruitt, who was the stunt coordinator through MMPR Season 1 and 2, wanted to know how Japan produced the series so that when it came time for the US team to do their fights, they could match Japan's speed and quality. So they sent one of the producers over for 3 days between June 1st to June 3rd, 1993, to get to see how they do their stunts, camera setup, squib preparation, mostly focusing on the stunt side, but we do get to see some monster fights and model filming too. His visit was during the production of Gosei Sentai Dairanger's 21st and 22nd episodes, which aired on July 16th and 23rd, only 2 months after filming. Both directed by Shohei Tojo. I highly suggest you check out the 2-hour video. I'll leave a link in the description. My video will act as a companion piece breaking down what's shown, locations used for filming, and where each shot is used for the final episodes. Day 1 is covered in the first 13 minutes, taking place on one of Toei's monster and model sound stages. The first setup being prepared is the stock transformation footage for Kiba Dio. To keep production flowing, the monster miniature crew is filming footage for episode 22, while the cast films episode 21. This is the angle where we're behind the Chi Palace as they head towards Wan Tiger for their combo. They do 2 rehearsals and 3 takes. Take 3 is the one picked. The shot appears in episode 22 at the 16:27 mark. Between takes 2 and 3, we get a look at a Wan Tiger model. My guess, this is the transformation model used for the close-up when the torso flips over. After that scene is finished, Pruitt's friend ventures around the studio where the models are kept. I can make out a few things. Another model of Star Ho-Oh, it looks battle damaged. My guess, this is the one used for the finisher Koppa Mijen. A Ruseo model, this one could be the one used when it sits on top of Wan Tiger. Land Lions model from Live Man. And another Wan Tiger model, it's on a stand, so this one might have the flexible legs when it's trying to stand up. After the small model tour, the video goes outside. I'm not sure what's being filmed here. They're at one of Saitama Prefecture's temples around this area, but this temple doesn't appear in episodes 21 or 22. My guess, they could be doing pickups for episode 18. Akumaru and Ko's actor have limited time to film scenes, and we see them filming Kiba Ranger on top of a van. This is how they do the shots when Kiba Ranger is riding Wan Tiger. I don't think this shot ever got used, but this could have been a shot intended when Ko was riding on his skateboard. They're driving past trees, so it can't be for Wan Tiger. We do see Shohei Shibata as Akumaru for a little bit, but we don't get much. After that, we go back to the model storage building where we see some of the Dairanger mechs. You get to see the different models done for Triceratops. The light blue one is used for all the driving desert shots and cannon firing shots. The dark blue one and the Tyrannosaurus models are used for the Dino Tanker formation. We also get to see Bendora's Palace model, the one that's used when it has to appear on buildings. You can also see the Saber Tiger model and other models of the Star Beast. These are probably used for the moving shots through the mountains. After the model building, we go outside and see where they park many of the bikes and cars. We see Mach Turbo 1, 3, and 4 from Turbo Ranger, the side Phantom from Metalar, which is half of the footage for VR Troopers, and this miniature tower prop. It's used in many shows, but you'll probably remember it from Ginga Man Episode 11, used in Lost Galaxy Episode 8. Next is another place that stores props. Now, these belts are pretty important. This is what is used for all the mech running shots. Those hills or rocky floors you see zipping by camera, they would be mounted on these. There's all kinds of props in this room. I can't make out much, but probably things like rubble being thrown on actors. I also spot the chest part from 5 Robo, from 5 Man. There's also a rock statue. It could be from someone turning into stone, a statue that someone had to crash into or exploded like in Dairanger episode 36. Right next to it is Dragon Antler, Gorujin's staff. One more vehicle we get to see is the Dark J car from the Metal Hero show Tokuso Robo Jan Person, which would be filming at the time. At the 1331 point in the video is the start of day 2. They're filming at the Tokorozawa Aviation Memorial Park Theater, located here. I'm guessing around 4 p.m.-ish, since some kids that were playing in the nearby baseball field started watching. This scene takes place in episode 21, starting at the 622 mark. The entire principal cast is present, including all three Gorma generals, Akumaro, and Rume Watanabe, Lady Ring's actress, plus the main Dairanger Stunt team. There's many different setups done throughout the day. I'll focus on the beginning sequence, breaking down each shot. The first setup is for the close-up kick where Ryo hits Lady Ring from Ko at 7:57. Setup 2 is for her landing shot and turnaround at 7:59. Setup 3 is when Ryo lands from his kick as the other Dairangers run up at 8 minutes. Setup 4 is at 8:06 when Lady Ring spins around saying her line, followed by setup 5 of her close-up and transformation at 8:11. Setup 6 is for Lady Ring's stunt performer, fading in at 8:15. What's interesting is that they're filming each shot in continuity order instead of shooting per camera angle. This is the advantage of using the smaller 16mm cameras. You can get them around in seconds compared to today's cameras that have hundreds of cables and batteries connected. Audio's not a worry either, since everyone will be ADR later on. Setup 7 is Shoji's close-up at 8:16. They went through 2 different lines, picking take 2. Setup 8 is for the first shot of their henshin at 8:21. Director Tojo has the entire edit already planned out in his head, where they don't waste any extra time. Seconds matter when they're racing the sun. The cast pulls out their gather keys and stops, just like where it cuts in the final episode. Setup 9 is Ryo's close-up when he inserts the aura changer at 8:22. Setup 10 is when Ko appears behind the bushes at 8:25. Setup 11 is for Byaku's close-up at 8:27. This is my favorite part of the video, seeing how they operate the mouth. One person moves the sword around, while another pulls on a cable to move the mouth. Setup 13 is when Ko stands up at 8:30. Setup 14 is for his henshin shot at 8:32. Now, I don't want to talk about every single shot. It'll get boring real quick, and this video will probably be 8 hours long. So I'll focus on key highlights through the fight sequence. While they filmed Ko's close-ups, the stunt team sets up getting the trampolines and pads ready. This is the first time they're shooting out of continuity, where they get the shot for Ryo jumping in for his kick for the start of the scene, then Kiba Rangers jump in after his henshin, finally Ryo's air kick. Nice seeing Keiichi Wada doing the stunts himself. The only time I could say they got lazy, this is really a nitpick, was they shot both Ryu Rangers and Lady Ring's jump from the same position, so if you got a fast eye, you'll see the same tree line. What I also never thought about was the hidden clasps on the helmets. After Dairanger, they decided to hide them on the inside. While watching the video, you can see it's pretty annoying to get the helmets on and off. Me personally, I never had a problem seeing the locks. I wish they left them outside. They take them on and off each take for the sake of the performers, especially when they're filming in the summer days. It's gonna suck. Another thing highlighted in the video is how hard it's to fight in the monster suit. While they're rehearsing, Lady Ring trips a lot. You even see it in the final episode. For the shot where they separate from fighting in midair, they're somersaulting across from each other. They just reverse the footage. Another cool moment in the video is how they do all the spark hit preparations. It's a lot more complicated than I thought. The sparks are small squibs that blow up. To trigger them, they feed a wire through the suit to a trigger button that the stunt performer uses to fire them. There's a small box that probably acts as protection, and on the back, the igniter. Then they place a sticky pad that looks like the material of the suit over the squib, so when it blows, that shows the burn mark. I remember in another season, I think either it was Mega Ranger or Time Ranger, they tried a vest that went on top of the suit, but it never worked good. In the few shots, I saw it fall off, which is probably why they abandoned it, which sucks. Putting on a vest versus having to put the wire through the suit is way easier. After the spark shots were finished, they moved on to a technically in-camera special effect. I'll try to explain how this works. Instead of filming Lady Earring on a blue screen stage to have her turn into a ghost when she does that attack on the Rangers, they do 2 shots. One of Lady Earring in front of a black backdrop with a reflective-like mirror in front of the camera lens at an angle. Then another shot of her running straight at the camera. Because she's in front of a black backdrop, the mirror will have her look see-through. The reflective mirror acts like a polarizer, so it filters out the dark areas, like the backdrop. Then they just overlay the 2 shots in editing. No need to do a complicated blue screen setup, and the lighting will match between the 2 shots. They do the same thing when Lady Earring hits the Rangers for the next shot. Between the next setup, we get an explanation of how they do the lingering smoke effect. They use a chemical called titanium chloride. It reacts to the air and produces a smoke. It's flammable, so you never see them use it with sparks or near fire. The last setup for the day is when Ranger gets lifted into the air by the three generals. It involves a huge crane. I was surprised that they have a stuntman for the stuntman. Instead of getting the stunt guy that was already filming as Ranger, they got another guy rigged for the crane lift. The cable they use for the stunt is so fine, and then they put on a anti-reflective coat, plus the sky blowing out the image makes the cable totally invisible, so they don't have to do any work in removing the wires. The last day starts at 1:25:35. We're back in one of Toei's studios, watching them film the main monster fight for episode 22. Filming begins in episode time at 11:39 minutes, where One Tiger launches his fireball attack. And the next shot of its attack firing. Most of the filming is all the shots that don't need any of the fire effects. It's mainly all the visual effects shots when the ladies come in, trampoline jumps, running, falling down, reaction poses like between the legs, a few of the spark hits, and the three sisters falling on the ground. Watching the video shows how clumsy the suits really are. Jiro Okamoto has to lift One Tiger's feet really high just to move, and this is not even the worst suit. Muteki Shogun's feet are so wide, it made it impossible to do any fights in it. The second half of filming is swapping to the Kiba Dio suit, which starts at the 16:41 minute in episode. The first shot they film is the landing from Ruseo. Pruitt's friend goes on the top of the stage so he can get a full view of the set. I didn't even think the stage for these fights was this small. I know they use different stages depending on the fight, but the camera really does make this area look much more bigger. The final setup shown is when Kiba Dio punches Lady Earring and Necklace, which happens at the 17:11 minute mark. I wish Toei and Hasbro would consider doing something like this more often, not for every episode, but big episodes like the pilot, Sixth Ranger, or finale episode. I enjoy seeing the process on how they do this. It acts as a nice time capsule for the cast and crew, and you get to see some of the funny bits too. Thank you, Jeff Pruitt and his colleague who recorded the video. If you have a suggestion or topic you'd like me to cover, leave a comment down below and I may use it in next week's video.